You know what's coming up next? It's time to put your knowledge of the animal kingdom to the test. How well do you really know the animal world around you? Test your knowledge with this quick quiz. First up, what do giant pandas, blue whales, and gray wolves have in common? If you said they're all mammals, you'd be right. But that's not the answer I was looking for. Try again. All three of these animals are considered to be endangered species. If you got that right, you're off to a great start. So how about this one? Which of these is not true of a giant panda? A. They primarily eat meat. B. They can climb trees. C. They have a special pseudo-thumb. D. They give birth only once every 2 years. If you chose A, then you're incorrect. Giant pandas don't actually eat much meat at all. They're primarily herbivores, which is a pretty weird thing for an animal that's technically a carnivore to do. And that's just one of the many unusual things about these bears. Let's find out more about them. Giant pandas live in south-central China. They typically inhabit cool, damp mountainous regions where they feed on bamboo. And if you've ever seen a picture of a giant panda, you may have noticed that they look a bit chubby. That's because they spend most of their time eating. A giant panda will spend between 10 to 16 hours each day consuming its favorite food, bamboo. Even though it makes up 99% of their diet, giant pandas don't actually digest the bamboo very well. This is due to their short digestive tract, which doesn't allow for the fermentation that's necessary to break down cellulose. Cellulose is a tough carbohydrate found in plants that isn't easily digested by most animals. That means that when a giant panda eats bamboo, most of it passes through their system undigested. That's bad news for the panda, because this means they need to eat constantly to get enough nutrition. But it also means that bamboo forests are able to thrive even in places where there are giant pandas living. This helps keep their ecosystem in balance. But here's the kicker. Giant pandas aren't even supposed to be this way. They're not truly herbivores like koalas or rabbits. They're omnivores. Their teeth are designed to crush bones and their digestive system is built to process meat. Most of their ancestors were believed to be These ancestors were small proto-pandas that hunted for animals such as rodents and birds. So why do these ferocious predators spend all their time munching on bamboo? Scientists think that it might have something to do with climate change. Over millions of years, the climate in China changed from warm and wet to cold and dry. The ancestors of the giant panda had to adapt in order to survive. Since bamboo grows in these harsh environments, the ancient pandas evolved to be able to eat it. Unfortunately, they weren't able to evolve quickly enough to avoid becoming endangered. Now that you know that giant pandas are actually carnivores that have adapted to eating plants, which of these do you think they would prefer to eat? A. A squirrel. B. A mouse. C. A rabbit. Or D. A frog. If you answered A or B, then you're correct. Squirrels and mice are small enough for a giant panda to catch and eat, while a rabbit would be too big. Frogs aren't often eaten by giant pandas, so that would be the least likely option. Giant pandas are excellent climbers. Despite their size, they can easily scale trees to get to the best bamboo shoots. In fact, if you didn't see a giant panda climbing a tree, you probably wouldn't realize that it was a giant panda at all. That's because giant pandas tend to hide in the trees. They build their lairs in caves or hollowed out logs and come out at night to forage for food. They usually don't want to be seen by humans or other animals. In fact, giant pandas are known to be quite shy. This is good news for us humans, since we don't have to worry about being attacked by a giant panda, even though they are capable of killing prey, including other bears. A giant panda's skull has 6 ear bones in each ear, allowing them to hear sounds that are too high or too low for humans to detect. Giant pandas communicate with each other by emitting a variety of vocalizations. These include grunts, whistles, and screams. They also use scent marking to communicate with other pandas. This is when a panda sprays urine or rubs its backside on trees, rocks, and other objects. Pandas have scent glands on the soles of their feet, sides of their bodies, and sides of their faces. This allows them to leave their unique scent behind and mark their territory. Giant pandas are polygamous. Male giant pandas will compete against each other to gain access to a female in heat. Once a male is successful, he will stay with her until she gives birth. Then the male panda will leave and find another female. Just like humans, Giant pandas will typically give birth to one cub after a gestation period of about 90 to 160 days. However, giant pandas have a very unusual reproductive cycle. They only ovulate once a year. This means that females will only give birth to cubs once every 2 years. If you guessed that as an answer in the quiz at the beginning of the video, then you're correct. Most cubs will be born blind and deaf and be able to walk until they reach 4 months old. At first, a female giant panda will give her cubs their own special milk called colostrum. Colostrum is packed with nutrients and antibodies. After a few weeks, the mother will begin to introduce solid foods into her cub's diet. At first, these foods will consist of mashed bamboo and other vegetation, but as the cubs get older, they will start to eat more meat. When they're around 18 months old, cubs are ready to fend for themselves. Sometimes they'll stay close to their mother's territory, while other times they'll wander far away from home in search of new bamboo forests to explore. But why is it that giant pandas have such a hard time reproducing? Is it just because they don't try very hard? Well, maybe not. Researchers believe that there are multiple factors that make giant pandas so bad at making more giant pandas. First, their body mass index affects their fertility. Giant pandas are either overweight or underweight. This makes it difficult for their bodies to produce the hormones necessary for reproduction. Second, the shape of a female giant panda's reproductive organs can impact how easy it is for sperm to reach an egg. Finally, a female panda's hormones can prevent fertilization. When researchers took hormones from a female panda's urine and injected them into other animals, the other animals became infertile. Although scientists don't fully understand how this works, they believe that these hormones play a role in the reproductive issues that giant pandas face today. If you're curious about whether any of these factors are genetic, you're not alone. Researchers are still working to determine how much of a giant panda's reproductive problems are due to genetics. Although giant pandas have been around for millions of years, their ancestors only began mating in the Pleistocene. This was about 2 million years ago. Since giant pandas haven't been around for a long time, some scientists believe that their DNA hasn't yet stabilized. For this reason, giant pandas may face reproductive challenges for thousands of years to come. And speaking of being endangered, let's go back to our quiz. So how did giant pandas end up being endangered in the first place? Habitat loss is one factor that has contributed to the decline of giant panda populations. Bamboo forests, which are the primary habitat of giant pandas, have been destroyed for a variety of reasons. Some forests have been cut down for timber, while others have been converted to farmland or used for other human activities. As a result, giant pandas have lost much of their natural habitat in the past century. Another factor that has contributed to the decline of giant panda populations is poaching. Giant pandas have been poached for their fur and body parts, which are used in traditional Chinese medicine. Fortunately, poaching is now illegal and has helped to increase the number of giant pandas in the wild. However, it is still a problem in some parts of China. Fortunately, giant pandas are making a comeback thanks to conservation efforts. There are now more giant pandas in the wild than ever before. However, they are still considered to be vulnerable. This means that they could become endangered again if their habitat continues to be destroyed, or if poaching becomes a problem once again. So, what can you do to help conserve giant pandas? One of the most important things you can do is to raise awareness about their plight. Be sure to share this video with your friends so they can learn more about giant pandas and the challenges they face. You can also support organizations that are working to protect giant pandas and their habitat. Finally, be mindful of your own consumption habits. By reducing your own carbon footprint, you can help create a healthier planet for everyone, including giant pandas. Thanks for watching. Do you have a favorite animal that you'd like to see us cover in the future? Let us know in the comments. And be sure to subscribe and press that bell icon, and don't forget to like it so you never miss an awesome video.